Assalamu alaikum. Peace. It's Nazir.
Coach Fatimah.
And it's Nyla, Coach Nyla, outstandingpersonalrelationships.com.
With this part of navigating marriage minefields, we want to talk about one of the most important parts of not only marriage, but just life in general. And that's dealing with personal growth. That also happens to be the number one thing that we put on our white paper or our free report on the 5 keys to a fulfilling marriage. All right. And number one is personal growth or personal development. And this is what I mean. Many people look up to our dear brother Malcolm X, as we do as well. And we look at Malcolm, we look at his life, but many of us admire the last portion of his life before he was assassinated, before 40 years old, mind you, and what he'd already accomplished, traveling around the world, fighting against racism, oppression, internal betrayal, and all kinds of different things, right? But there was a process that led him to a certain point. So the point that I want to really make is that personal development is not just an event, okay? But it happens over time. It's an entire process that goes along with it. And like one of my mentors said, you know, it's something that happens daily, not in a day. So if you look at Malcolm, this is somebody who grew up a screw up, if I want to borrow something from one of my favorite poets, Mr. Christopher Wallace. But, you know, his nickname was Satan and Lucifer and stuff when he was locked up. I mean, he was just somebody that was pimping, running numbers. He was hustler on the street, right? Nobody necessarily, he wouldn't be remembered for any of that. We had those all around us. But things happened in his life. He began to read. He began to investigate. He began to invest in himself. And the thing about personal development is it's all about affecting your thinking, because your thinking affects your attitude, it affects your behavior in other parts of your life. So he evolved to a point where now internationally renowned and loved and respected, even though he's been dead for decades now. All right, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him. Then this gentleman, this Malcolm X, this leader, still has a profound impact. He's one of the reasons I didn't become Muslim back in the day. But again, that's not the whole purpose of the story. Is about personal growth and development. You have any other examples, for example, you may want to share?
One example I have is Viola Davis. She's an actress, for those who don't know.
Right.
But what stood out to me about her, she realized early on that, hey, we all have some issues. We're all broken in some way, shape, or form, or anything like that. And before she even met her husband, before she even knew who he was and if she wanted to get married or anything like that, she stated that she wanted to fix herself. She wanted to get some things taken care of in her life before she brings somebody else into her life, before she wants to bring anybody into any type of craziness or anything like that. To me, when it comes to personal growth and personal development, it shows that level of maturity, even to think about it, even to say, you know what, I have some issues I need to work on. Because I remember growing up, that wasn't okay. That was not in my community or whatever. Right. To say that you had an issue, that you had a problem, that you were not strong or whatever, because you got to be strong. You got to, the stuff that you go through, all the pain and the trauma and the different stuff, you got to go through that. That's called life. So you go through it and that's that. But a lot of us are broken because of it, or a lot of us are feeling some type of way because of it. But to be wise enough and strong enough to say, you know what, I need some help. And to go and seek that help, whether it's in books, whether it's in audios, whether it's in different types of programs, like we have on outstandingpersonalrelationships.com. It's, shameless plug. I'm putting it out there. And but that being said, it's like it takes that maturity, and it's knowing that first and foremost, that gets you started on the right path.
Right. I agree. One of my favorite, and I've spoken on her before, entertainers, is Tina Turner, because I think about the strength that she must have had at a certain point after being with a man that worked her to death, beat her down physically, spiritually, mentally. She raised 2 of his sons that were not biologically hers, from what I recall, in addition to their children, and to go through being beaten down and mentally wrecked by your husband, and he's supposed to love her, and to rise above that and know her value, and then continue on her legacy and change the energy to a positive thing and become her own entertainer, work with producers in the UK, ultimately marry her producer, and move completely out of the country to a life of serenity. No one's beating her up, and she's dealing with some illness now, but I can't imagine her still dealing with illness and being physically abused as she was, and mentally abused. So that's one of the people that I kind of look up to when I think about personal growth and self-care and knowing your value and not letting anybody else dictate that to you.
Right.
Indeed, indeed. You know, it's funny because when we talk about personal growth, it's almost a form of self-therapy. It's actually in the self-help section of different bookstores, now that I think about it. And you will find some powerful information, literally life-changing information. If you implement these things, first you have to crack a book, all right? And you don't necessarily have to go to bookstores, even though we love bookstores and half-price books and all kinds of stuff, right? But libraries have this information too, and library cards are free. I remember one of my mentors informed me that over 97% of the population does not have a library card. So just simply by having one, put you in the top few percentile. But utilizing it even does that much better. And like Dr. Joy DeGruy said, depending on what your background is, and I don't know where you are in the world where you're viewing this from, but I know that we already have trauma in our DNA just growing up in the United States. From what we're dealing with in the current state we're in, that locks up more black men, for example, per capita than any other place in the country. You know, we're 2 minutes from the zip code that's the most incarcerated zip code in the world. There's trauma that goes along with that. All right, not just worrying about the police or the judges or this whole criminal justice system, but whether it's policies on investing or the devaluing of homes and really understanding how redlining still impacts incomes today from different racist government endorsed policies. So we already have trauma. We're set up for that. But when you're working on yourself and healing yourself, that changes the game. So what are some of the resources you ladies would suggest that have been good for self-healing and personal development, not only, of course, in general, but also when it comes to marriage and period?
For me, the ones that I really gravitated toward were two books by Ilana Van Zandt. And one is called In the Meantime, and that one actually has different tips, and there's a workbook portion of the book where it's interactive and you can answer questions for yourself personally, and you can kind of see your progress. Tony Robbins' Personal Power, Ilana's other book, Peace from Broken Pieces, is a really good one that I read often. I've read it twice and implemented a lot of things from those two books of hers. And then the Personal Power book from Tony Robbins was really, really beneficial for me. The audio course, right? The audio course that has really good gems in it and stuff that I felt like I could actually do. That's what I really loved about that course. So those were big for me.
Yeah, I think for me, definitely Personal Power, the 30-day course of Tony Robbins. I remember having a breakthrough probably on day 5, pulling over to the side of the road and just crying. I'm pretty sure it was day 5. And it was like, oh, I need to change my life. So, but that was one of my favorites, still is. Today Matters, John C. Maxwell. Absolutely. That was one of my top books that I read probably over and over when I was in a state of just turmoil, I guess you want to say, and it helped a lot with my growth. Some different relationship books. One of my favorite books, which is kind of weird because I don't know, it's just weird. It's weird, but it's Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He has some really good tips on how to communicate, and it's another book called I want to say it's like have a new husband by Friday or something. I know it sounds so crazy, but if you read the book, it's totally different than what the
title
than what the title entails. You got to read the book. I'll give you a little snippet that is pretty much working more on you than working on your husband. So, but it's an awesome book. So yeah, some of those.
Well, the point is to always be a student. So whether it's like one of my favorite authors, John C. Maxwell, or something like Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill, or Rich Dad Poor Dad from that side, or the leadership stuff and the teamwork stuff. So it's all about becoming a better you. See, because if I become a better me, or become a better leader or a better provider, if I become better in those things, then those people who I'm responsible for and who I love and care about that fall under my influence, I'm better for them too. So I'm better with communicating. So I'm better with expressing different things, with getting work done, being more productive, being more fun when it's time to have fun. So I become better in these different areas. So again, one of my mentors told me, he said, listen, Nazir, where you'll be in your life 5 years from now and being fulfilled really heavily depends on three things. He said, the books you read, the audios you listen to, and the people you hang around. Books you read, audios you listen to, people you hang around. I've literally read hundreds of books. I love reading. Wish I could do it more. I guess I can do it more, so I will. I don't need to wish, but because that's not going to change anything, right? But reading more or getting different audio books now, which is pretty cool. I mean, with Audible and all the different things out there, it's amazing that's there. Even when it comes to polygyny and leadership, I know the Islamic polygyny,
Right.
but it's called Islam and polygamy. Just because that's what people are more familiar with that title, but he explains exactly what that means with Bilal Phillips. I know that different resources we have with marriage in particular, like from monogamy to polygyny. Some people like it, some people don't, which is like with everything. You can take what you can get from it and leave out the rest. But there's a whole growth pattern that it talks about, just like the 6 stages or 7 stages of grief. I don't know how many stages it is.
That changes.
But though that's not necessarily what the book is talking about, the point is that there are different stages that everyone really goes through, or that we found that people go through when studying psychology and just life or sociology in general. So these things, they all matter. So the more that we know, the more informed we can be and intelligent we can be when making decisions moving forward, because we all want to be fulfilled. We all want to be better, but nobody wants to go through the stuff. The stuff is what causes us to grow. I mean, would you really want to be on a flight with a pilot who's never been through turbulence and just so happened during your flight he hits turbulence?
Right.
No, you don't want to be. The pilot start freaking out. Nah, you want to be with the pilot that's been through it, that knows how to get it calm and get around whatever currents and everything else and let you know what's going on for reassurance. But he had to go through something and experience that fear at the time in order to be where you need to be, like teaching our children with riding bikes or driving vehicles or whatever it may be. So it's all about that growth and understanding it happens daily over time, not in a day. One of the biggest gripes I have is that people don't do it. They don't do it. So, and if you don't do it, it shows, it smells. We can tell. It's like a shower.
When the struggle gets bad or when it gets hard, they stop.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't continue on.
Imagine that. You're watching the movie, right? You're watching this kid come up from the slums and everything, and they're doing it and they're going through, and all of a sudden they say, you know what, I quit.
Right.
They just quit and fade to mediocrity. Like you'll be upset. You got to go through it. I don't care if you talk about the movie Lean on Me or whatever, or you talking about something else. You could be talking about Kung Fu Panda. All right, when Poe was talking about, hey, start at level 1. You're like, is there like a level 0?
Level 0.
Became after he messed up, but what if Poe would have quit? We would have never got to the sequel, part 2 or part 3. Kung Fu Panda was super dope.
He wouldn't have found his greatness.
No, right. we wouldn't have known who the Dragon Warrior was.
Exactly.
And that he was a panda. So the point is that growth matters, but we have to go through the stuff. So we have to go through the things right now to make things easier, if you will, because our children are going to have their own challenges. Yes. So that they can be equipped for those challenges and grow even bigger and really leave that legacy. So the gripe is this. When you go to school, for example, the whole schooling system, not only is it outdated, but that's a whole other different discussion entirely. But when you go to school, why do they make the first grade desks so small? Because they don't want you to stay there long. You're not supposed to stay there long. But schools tell you This is what the curriculum is. Here's the syllabus. This is when the semester ends. We're going to have this amount of tests and quizzes and everything else. Here's the study guide and the books. They give you your goals. They give you the deadlines. They go ahead and give you progress reports, all of this stuff, right? So at the end of the school year, you'll know if you're going to the next grade or not. And it's relatively simple, goes throughout life. But guess what? As an adult, no one does that for you. If you get your diploma, your GED, dropout, whatever, you have to do this stuff on your own.
Absolutely.
So nobody's going to come and say, hey, you want to have a successful marriage and better relationships? Great. Make sure you read this year, read this month, and make sure you do that and implement in your life. Nobody's going to do that. You have to do that.
And hold your hand every step of the way.
Right.
No, that's not their job. It's your job. Man, woman,
Right.
it's your job. So many people are upset and they can't understand why you're dealing with somebody that's so immature. Well, you're dealing with somebody that's so immature at 25, 35, 45 years old because mentally and personal development wise, they're still in 4th grade. They got hurt in 4th grade, didn't deal with that healing, didn't invest in any type of personal development programs, didn't read a book, none of this type of stuff. And it shows. And since personal development is like a shower, you need one every day because it happens daily. So the good thing is this. If you're breathing, if you're watching this video, you're listening to us, you can hear us, you can start today. Matter of fact, you're already starting it now by getting this information. We already dropped a number of different books, not getting paid on any of it. You don't see any Amazon links on here that we're going, any of that, right? None of that. But you will also be able to get our book when it comes to marriage and polygyny and stuff like that, prayerfully this summer after Ramadan, inshallah. So with that being said, any closing remarks when it comes to personal development process?
You never
Like
stop.
Nike, just do it.
Yeah, you never stop too. Don't think you're just always
we
going to just
endorsing
reach, just don't think you're going to just reach it. It's going to take a week. It's lifelong.
You're always going to be going, always.
You're going to learn, always learn.
Always. That's where the wisdom comes from.
Yep.
I mean, I could read the same book. I could look at Think and Grow Rich now in my 40s, and it's something totally different than when it was in my 20s. I look at hustling now all the way different
Yep.
than I did back then, with more fulfillment and thriving.
And just be open. Be open-minded because things will change. And as you grow, the same thing, just like you said, it's not going to be the same, and you're going to actually find different things as you grow. They say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So, it's going to be, you probably read the same book over and over and over again, and it'll be things that you didn't see before that you'll see later on because you weren't at that level yet, but you grew to that level, and then you're growing to another level and another level. But you got to keep doing it. You got to keep on keeping on.
Yep.
And honor the struggle because it's the struggle will come, but you got to know how to push through it and go through it.
Yeah, it doesn't always look pretty. You're going to have your moments, but you have to power through them.
Great part is it's worth it.
Indeed.
So, prayerfully, you got some good information again today. We'll leave you with a wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. Make sure you're getting some personal development materials from what we have on our site at outstandingpersonalrelationships.com.
Be true. Be the best you. We'll see you soon.
And add value to yourself. It's always priceless.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.